Welcome. I'm Daria. Today's practice, we will be focusing on our hands and feet using a ball. And actually, if you have two different sizes, that would be ideal. We'll use one of the small rubber ones, and we'll also use one of the bigger squishy ones. But whatever you have at home will be just fine. So we'll begin our class. Coming to a comfortable seat. It can be on the floor, in a chair. Do think of lengthening up your spine. Imagine your chin is parallel to the floor. You might softly close your eyes. Just beginning to draw your awareness inwards. Feel your heart beating. Feel your breath coming and going. Just beginning to make that transition from the busyness of the world around you to the quieter space of your practice. Just allowing your mind to settle. A nice long inhalation and a releasing exhalation. Lengthen up your spine and loosely drop your chin towards your chest. Just a couple of times, roll your chin along your collarbones from shoulder to shoulder. Maybe twice to each side. And then bringing your head back to center, keep the spine long, let the head be heavy for just a moment. And pick your head back up, opening your eyes, rolling your shoulders a few times, maybe about 3 times in one direction, and 3 times in the other direction. Your hands can rest lightly on your knees and just make a couple of rotations with your torso. Getting a little bit into the hips. Next time you come forward, just change the direction. And then coming back up to center, you can pick your legs up, stretch them out and bounce them out a little bit. Give them a little shake. Sit however you're comfortable. I like to sit on my knees for this. I find it a little bit easier for what we're about to do, but sitting on knees doesn't work for everybody, so you could stay in that seated position. You could stand at your kitchen counter and do some rolling on the counter so that you don't have to sit on your knees. Just kind of do what works for your body today, being mindful that we might be here a little bit. We'll start with that small ball. If you're using the bigger one, it'll work just fine. And just start really simply, just rolling the ball in the palms of the hands. And then you could just stay with that, it's a little more gentle, or you can place and choose whichever hand. We'll do both, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. Just roll the ball on the palm of your hand. Play around with the pressure a little bit. See how much pressure, use as much pressure as you can tolerate. So we're not looking for agony here, but you might start to notice things that are tender. You can start to move into sort of the sides of the hand, maybe little karate chop hands. Take a moment to pay a little bit of attention to this area here. It's sort of that carpal tunnel area, and it can be really problematic for a lot of us, so be gentle, but take a moment to get a little bit into that, helping with circulation. You can even do the backs of your hands, a little massage for the backs of the hands. And then you can actually get down on the ground and start to roll a little bit into the forearms. Gets a little bit awkward, but just get in there as much as you can. Again, just kind of noticing if there's tender spots, soreness. And then pick your ball up and just roll the ball in your palms again. And then over to the other hand, so a little more pressure you can place when you have it on the floor, so use as much pressure as you can tolerate. You might notice a really big difference from one side to the other. Get into the sides of those hands. Pay a little bit of attention to that carpal tunnel area. Be gentle, especially if you have issues there. But do focus on it a little bit. Get into the back of your hand, not a place we often massage. And then you can kind of get down into the forearms a little bit, just rolling them out all around both sides as much as you can. And then pick that ball up again and take the ball between your thumb and your first finger. And if you place it a little farther down, it might be a little bit easier. If you place it a little farther up, it's a little more challenging. And you're just going to squeeze. Keep your palm flat if you can. Open your fingers wide and squeeze that ball. And then same thing, you could do bottom of the fingers and then squeeze the top of the fingers and then move to the next set. Try to keep those other fingers spread as wide as possible so you're just using those two fingers to squeeze the ball. And then tops of the fingers. And try again bottoms. And try the tops. I know I always kind of wiggle there. And then switch hands, so start with the bottom. Place the ball between the thumb and the side of the index finger. Try to spread your other fingers wide. And then index finger, middle finger at the bottom. Index finger, middle finger at the top. And then index finger, ring finger, spread your other fingers wide, squeeze hard. And then between those two fingers, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then last set, between the ring finger and the pinky at the bottom. And then between the ring finger and the pinky at the top, and squeeze your fingers. And then roll that ball into the palms of the hands again. And you can keep using this little one. Sometimes, especially if you have a lot of arthritis in your hands, this might be just enough to work with. Or you can pick one of your other larger ones and we'll place it on the floor again. You roll a little bit, go to the base of your thumb, and you're going to roll the ball towards the tip of the thumb so that your thumb is up on the ball, your other fingers are spread wide, and your palm is on the floor, and you might be able to straighten your elbow. So here, to get away with it, away from the stretch, I'm starting to bend. We really want to kind of lengthen everything out. If your ball starts to slip away from you, you could do this with the ball against the wall, just to keep it from moving, or you could even just hold it in place with your other hand. And then go to the base of your index finger, roll along the finger using a little bit of pressure, and then see if you can get the rest of your hand on the floor, fingers spread wide. And then roll from the base of the middle finger all the way to the top. Place the other fingers down, spread them wide, and place the palm down. And then ring finger, same thing. And then pinky finger, same thing. And then just roll that ball on the palm of that hand, change sides. Start at the base of your thumb and roll to the top. See if you can place the rest of your hand down on the floor and keep your thumb fairly straight. And then roll from the base of your index finger all the way to the tip. Use a little bit of pressure. Elbow might be straight if you can. And then middle finger, roll to the tip. And then ring finger, you're rolling, placing the other fingers down, spreading them wide apart, rooting down through the palm of your hand. And then your last one, the pinky finger, and that wants to roll away a little bit, so do it best you can. And then again, just a little roll into the palms of the hands. And then from here, we will work on our feet, so we'll come to standing. So standing up, choose the ball that you're going to work with. You could do it with the little ones, but I find those are really hard, so if you're using the little one, just be a little more gentle with yourself. Otherwise, take the one that you're going to use today, and actually, let's just stand for a moment before we start anything else. Have your toes pointed straight ahead, just standing tall, shoulders relaxed. You might close your eyes for a moment. Just get a sense of how standing feels. How do the bottoms of your feet feel? And then blink your eyes open. Take that ball, and this is where you probably do need the bigger one. I wouldn't suggest doing this with the smaller one, but place it between your ankles, and you kind of have to find the place where you can hold that ball between your ankles and squeeze your ankles into the ball. Have a look at your toes. Pick your toes up, spread them wide, and have your toes pointing forward. So we don't want our feet flared out to the side. We don't want to be super pigeon-toed, but we're trying to spread our toes as wide as we can. Ankles are still squeezing the block. You could certainly have your hand on a wall for support if balance is an issue today. Trying to control the movement as much as possible, squeeze your ankles into the ball and lift your heels up off the floor. And then keep squeezing and control that movement as you come down. And try that 2 more times. Squeeze the ball, lift the heels. Squeeze the ball, lower the heels. And try that 1 more. Lifting, sometimes it's easier than others, and lowering. And then release that ball. Pick the foot that you want to work with first, and just start to roll your foot on the ball. You'll kind of get a sense of how your foot's feeling and play around with the pressure. Use as much pressure as you'd like. Ease off on it whenever you need to. The first one we'll do, and again, you could be holding the wall or you could have the ball right up against the wall so it doesn't roll away. The first one's a little bit weird. You're going to start at the base of your toe mound, kind of like what we did with our fingers, similar. See if you can get your big toe on the ball, and then spread your other toes out. So you might have your big toe and your second toe on the ball, and the other toes on the floor. You might be able just to get the big toe up and the other ones down. And then pick up your feet, go behind your toe mounds. See if you can get your 3 middle toes on the ball, and see if you can get your big toe and your pinky toe on the ground. So sometimes you actually have to just tell your foot what to do with your hands. So move your toes, and they're really spread wide. It feels really weird. And then roll so that probably your pinky toe and the next toe are on the ball, and the other ones might be on the ground. But again, maybe you actually just place your toes where you want them to be. And this might all just not be happening, which is just fine. And then release that. Again, you're rolling the bottom of the foot. Come to that, or place the ball underneath your toe mound. So kind of in the middle of your foot. Your toes are free, and you'll spread your toes wide and then squeeze the ball. And spread them wide and squeeze. Maybe 1 more. Spread and squeeze. Thinking upper body's relaxed. Sometimes when we get to a spot that's sore, we tense up. See if you can be aware of that and let it go. Keep your heel on the ground, relax your toes, and just go a little bit side to side. So now you're kind of crossing the fibers of the bottom of the foot. And then And the ball gets away sometimes, it's all good. And then move the ball down the foot. So now you're between the toe mounds and the arch, but you're not in the arch yet. Again, use as much pressure as you can. Keep your heel down on the ground and roll sideways. And then come back to the center. You're taking the ball into the arch of the foot now. So that can be really tender. So be gentle with yourself. Maybe you can go from your toes to your heel. Just really putting some pressure into that ball. And then come up. You could have toes up or toes down. Actually, let's do both. Heel down, side to side, and then toes down, side to side. And you'll find those squishy bits. Totally helps to make a face. And then roll a little bit forward, so now you're a little bit closer to the heel. Go a little bit side to side. And then when you get to the heel, come forward a little bit more. Maybe you try a little bit of balance. You put a little bit of weight into the ball as you pick up your opposite foot. And then place that foot down and walk it out a little bit. And then switch sides. So we'll begin just by keeping the big toe on the ball, placing the other toes down on the ground, and see if you can spread them wide. Just a little bit of pressure, a little bit of holding. And then middle toes are on the ball. See if you can get your pinky toe and your big toe down. And I know on myself, one foot does this much easier than the other, or much more readily than the other, so it's really normal to be different from side to side. And then pinky toe, maybe the next toe, and then the other 3 or 4 toes on the floor. Theoretically, spreading them wide, but who knows? Our feet don't usually get this much work. And then come back to the center. Roll the ball kind of under, or place the ball under those toe mounds. Spread your toes wide and squeeze the ball. And spread them wide and squeeze. And again, spreading and squeezing. And then keep your heel down and roll from side to side. And then you'll come forward a little bit. So now you're not under the toe mounds and you're not under the arch. You're sort of between there. And again, a little bit of side to side with the heel down. Just crossing those fibers on the foot. And then roll to the arch. Now be gentle here because it could be super tender. Maybe you can drop heel to toe using as much pressure as you can tolerate. And then let's try heel down, side to side. And then toes down, side to side. And then a little bit between the arch and the heel of the foot. Might go a little side to side. And then maybe you can put as much weight into the heel as you can, and then maybe you can pick up the other foot, so you just add that little bit of balance there. And place that foot back down. And then roll along the bottom of the foot. And I just realized we forgot to do this part on the first side, so we will go back to our first side. But as you roll along the bottom of the foot, you're going to pick 2 different places to hold. So think about where you would benefit the most from holding, and just let yourself settle into that spot. Let your foot be heavy, let your leg be heavy. Take a breath, and then pick your second spot to hold, and just let yourself settle. And the idea is kind of thinking of just softening around that ball. Trying not to hold with too much tension. Think of softening as much as you can. And then roll the bottom of that foot. And then we'll go back to that first side. Again, just a little exploration as you roll on the bottom of the foot. And pick your first spot, and we'll just settle. Thinking of softening those tissues around the ball. And then find your second spot to hold. Again, you're just putting as much weight into it as you can. But be kind to yourself. There's no point in creating pain or agony. You want to come back and do this another day. It's a good thing to do often. And then roll the bottoms of the feet one more time. And then pause for a moment. Just stand. And just notice how you feel. And we'll try that same one from the beginning, just to end. Placing the ball between your ankles, spreading your toes as wide as you can, finding your balance, your stability. Squeeze that ball as you pick the heels up and lower with control. And pick the heels up, squeeze as you lower. And one more time, lifting and lowering. Double crack is always good. And then let that ball go. You can place it off to the side. Just stand for a moment. Maybe you close your eyes. Notice how standing feels. Take one more breath here. Might walk it out a little bit. And then make your way back down to seated. If you have a little more time, you could always take your legs up the wall and set a timer for yourself so that you have a little bit of a longer Shavasana. But otherwise, we'll come back to a comfortable seat, lifting the spine tall, thinking of the chin being parallel to the floor, letting the eyes softly close. Just once again, feel your heart beating. Feel your breath coming and going. Just noticing how you feel, noticing any softness you've created in your body, releasing of tension that you don't need to hold on to. Take one more breath. Softly blink your eyes open. Reach your hands out to the side. Gather up all of the positive energy you've created. Draw it into your heart. Just pausing for a moment of gratitude. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And thank you for coming to class today or sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.